Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and I literally just did a video talking about how I think some of these figures are confirmed for Jurassic World Survival, and I just did like a whole, again, kind of going through the other listings to see if these creatures would be confirmed. And then I got a comment, someone mentioning how literally all of these have listings already on Walmart.com, and I checked before back when Liopleurodon was like just rumored, and I was just like, I couldn't find it anywhere, so yeah, I tried again after they commented that, and yeah, sure enough, I literally found all the listings. So yeah, we're gonna go over those. Most of the listings are not anything super crazy. They're just kind of completely confirming the species. But starting off, here's all the listings for all the Wave 1 Wild Roar and Strike Attack figures for the Jurassic World Survival line. Gorgosaurus, that hideous creature. Stegosaurus, which is not half bad. And then the other one, the Brachiochenius, I finally figured out how to pronounce that thing. The Pteranodon, the Ceratosaurus, and the Amphirovenator all have listings. And they seem, the $19 and $14 price seems to be the new price range. I think the $19 is actually new for the Gigantic Thrashers, which is a shame since they're finally doing Gigantic Thrashers of some very cool species, but they all look like hot garbage, so yeah. Anyways, yes, and you may be wondering, well, how do I know Liopleurodon and Torvosaurus look like hot garbage? And partially based off of how Wave 1 went, but also because the descriptions for those two, in particular, actually describe what the figure looked like. These ones, I mean, for the Wild Roars, they're pretty much all the same description, just with a different name of the dinosaur. They just describe them as glowing and, like, generally a chomping action feature. Nothing too crazy, but for the Gigantic Thrashers, they actually do describe what the heck their action features are, but, yeah. Anyways, first, starting off, we have the Jurassic World Triceratops. This looks like the Wild Roar figure because of the price range, but, yeah, we don't really have much on this figure. Next, we have the, Wild Roar Metriacanthosaurus. Still kind of find it random that they're doing Metriacanthosaurus and the next creature that we're going to be going over in a second. But, yeah, again, another figure. Next, we have Cryolophosaurus, which also, another one that I find really weird. I honestly don't know why they're doing a Cryolophosaurus, though. If the sculpt at least looks good, I can kind of dig a glowing Cryolophosaurus. I don't know why. Glowing Cryolophosaurus just feels right, and I can kind of work with that. Anyways. Next, we have probably the one figure I have hope in anymore is Stomatosuchus. I'm just begging for this thing to be good because at this point, that's like one of the last few things. Of the Wild Roar figures and Gigantic Thrasher figures, I only plan on getting 2, and none of them are Gigantic Thrashers, which I actually usually love getting the Gigantic Thrashers. Usually Wave 2 particularly, but they don't sound particularly good. Though, hey, maybe I'll change my mind once they get revealed. At least on Liopleurodon. Torvosaurus I consider a lost cause already. But yeah, Stomatosuchus and Brachiochenius, I mean, I'm really hoping Stomatosuchus at the very least is good. Brachiochenius is good. We have that one confirmed, what it looks like. It looks great so far. But Stomatosuchus, we don't know, and I'm honestly just praying at this point that this thing looks at least halfway decent. So yeah. Now we move on to the Gigantic Thrashers. We have Torvosaurus confirmed. Again, 1997. I'm not going to talk about this guy too much because we're going to get to this one in a second. Next, we have the Liopleurodon. This basically confirms Tylosaurus is not going to be a Gigantic Thrasher figure if we're getting it. I'm still really hoping that maybe, since again, it's not impossible that the Liopleurodon is just a reimagined figure, since none of these sites really have the reimagined figures, so it wouldn't pop up as a listing here. So honestly, I'm just hoping, and also the original kind of rumor for the figure never confirmed to be a Gigantic Thrasher. That's just the only slot it really slides into. But hey, maybe it could be a reimagined figure, or even a Hammond collection figure. I was honestly really hoping for one of those. And based on the description of the Liopleurodon, I'm actually kind of worried that maybe Tylosaurus was originally going to be in the line, but then they cut it and replaced it with Liopleurodon, despite Tylosaurus probably making more sense for the action feature they're going with. At least the Jurassic part of the game design does. Maybe that's why they couldn't do it, but yeah. Anyways. Okay, yeah, kind of sorry that I'm just interjection halfway through this video, or I don't know if I'm going to put this halfway through the video or at the end, but yeah, kind of just wanted to mention something. Pretty much after I recorded that audio, I'm recording this the next day, but yeah, pretty much after I recorded the audio, I got a comment on my other video where I was talking about the other listings for the survival figures before I found these better ones, and pretty much I was not able to confirm 3 figures being Tylosaurus, actually no, 4 figures I think it was, Tylosaurus, Estimatosuchus, Deinonychus, and Scelidosaurus. All of those I couldn't really confirm, but I got a comment from someone that apparently found actually found where those original figures came from, and reason why I couldn't find their listings is because they were actually apparently confirmed from the code of the Jurassic Facts app. So, again, they're from the code in the Jurassic Facts app. Perhaps you'll have some of them revealed when the Jurassic Facts app finally updates and finally shows the species, but they are in the actual source code for it. And, yeah, pretty much they theorize that the Tylosaurus and Estimatosuchus are going to end up being reimagined figures, while Deinonychus and Scelidosaurus may have been canceled. Definitely could see that happening. if we're going the reimagined route, I could possibly see Deinonychus and Scelidosaurus possibly being thrown in as some kind of strike attack sized figures, perhaps even being rubber. But yeah, because Deinonychus is kind of canon to the franchise. I think it's on the DPW list and also like been canceled from several things. Scelidosaurus doesn't have any ties to the franchise, but they're seeming to, they might be a little bit loose on the rules and just have Scelidosaurus in there as an extra. And Tylosaurus, I'm honestly still really hoping that it is a reimagined figure. Again, it would make a lot of sense for it to be a reimagined figure, but also just the Liopleurodon listing description just is a little bit too similar to a Mosasaur. It just seems super similar as if it was originally intended for a Mosasaur. So yeah, again, what's your guys' thoughts on this? Anyways, back to the rest of the video, or welcome to the end of the video if I decide throwing this at the end, but I'm probably going to put this like halfway through the video. Anyways, yeah, continue on. Now, let's talk about the actual figures. Liopleurodon. I made concepts based off the new descriptions. They're based off my original concept. Here's my original concept for Liopleurodon. I still was kind of felt like it was random they did this one. Felt like, again, if they wanted to just make a bigger Pliosaur, I was just expecting them to maybe just go with Chronosaurus or Pliosaurus itself instead of Liopleurodon, which was already perfectly sized. But, oh well. I thought, hey, at the very least, it could be a good basic Pliosaur figure, and it could really just work with some of the larger species. And that was until I read the description where it confirms that it has, well, spikes. And if I remember correctly, it has a double row mega chomp, which I have no idea what the heck that means, but that either just is a weird way to describe a chomping action feature, or they gave this thing like a second freaking jaw for no reason. Like a goblin shark. Well, not even a goblin shark, more like a moray eel or something. Or even like a mosasaur, I guess. If they did that, why, again, this figure, I'm honestly starting to think they were originally going to go with Tylosaurus, or maybe they're switching it to Tylosaurus. Either way, again, this just makes more sense to be Tylosaurus. A double chomp, a double-road mega chomp or something, whatever you want to describe that as. Basically, Mosasaurs have 2 rows of teeth. Would have made sense. And also, again, spikes. Yeah, real-life Tylosaurs didn't have them, but the Jurassic Park, the game design does. And if they were going like for a mishmash of those two, or even just going fully with that design, I feel like it would make more sense for Tylosaurs to be here. I don't think we're getting Tylosaurs, but honestly, kind of wishing we were. Hey, maybe this Liopleurodon figure still won't look horrible. I honestly, I am kind of holding out hope. This is like the only gigantic Thrasher figure I have any hope in, because we only have 2 images. We don't have any images for these 2, and this one out of the 2, spoiler alert, is the better of the 2 description, at least in my opinion. So yeah, Liopleurodon, interesting. It just sounds. I'm pretty sure at this point we're not getting Tylosaurus as a reimagined figure, and Tylosaurus was probably just originally what they were going to go with, since again it made way more sense. But then they had to change it last second for Liopleurodon because I don't know, copyright or who knows what other reason. So, yeah. Anyways, still holding out hope maybe we'll get Tylosaurus instead. Anyways, next we have Torvosaurus. Didn't know where they were going to go with this one. I was honestly really hoping, since maybe the fact that this is a second wave gigantic Thrasher figure, and also they've been pretty generous to Jurassic period animals recently, perhaps maybe this will be like a hidden gem and actually be a really good Torvosaurus figure. I know it had 2 things going against it. First thing, it being a Megalosaur, and the only other Megalosaur we've gotten this year being Afrovinator was honestly horrible and look nothing like Afrovinator, and then the only other large theropod that's actually pretty desired by the community and would fit in the size range, Gorgosaurus, also got completely butchered. They started off doing well, and then they completely butchered it for the other half, to the point in which it's not even like you could easily like customize it if you really wanted to. You basically have to recreate the entire figure, like I'd say like 60% or more of the figure from scratch if you wanted to try to refix that thing. So yeah, those are what we have so far to compare this to. But hey, perhaps this could be a hidden gem. That was until I read the description, and it says it has a rattlesnake-like tail. Yeah, I know they didn't say that it has massive spikes on its back, but realistically, if they're putting a rattlesnake tail on it, which makes no sense and honestly is utterly stupid, they're probably going to put a bunch of ugly spikes on top of it too. No matter if it's a good or bad model. It would be even worse if it's basically just like the Afrovinator figure, except with slightly more Torvosaurus proportions and then with a bunch of garbage slapped on top of it and a rattlesnake tail. That's kind of just what I'm getting at and what it seems like we're going to be getting from Torvosaurus. Again, yeah, maybe this description isn't what it's going to... I mean, maybe this image I made doesn't look like what it's going to end up looking like. I'm honestly praying so, but I kind of doubt it. And it kind of seems like maybe best case scenario, the rattlesnake tail is more minor. Like it's literally just a Torvosaurus figure, and then they just slapped a rattlesnake tail on it for literally no reason. Honestly, I could work with that. I could just cut that off, but I kind of doubt... I feel like they're going to do something else to this figure to really make it look completely stupid and frankly just not make it a Torvosaurus and make it unfixable, at least not easily. So yeah... Mattel, please, I'm begging you, Stomatosuchus, just leave Stomatosuchus alone. I'm begging you, just do this one right. Like, at this point, Wave 2 has two good figures. Dunkleosteus, which I'm confident in since it is a movie species, I think it would be, like, even weirder. Like, I know Mattel is honestly doing absurd, weird stuff right now, but, like, I feel like it would be even weird for them completely to butcher a new movie design. They did the dragon perfectly fine to how it looked in the movie, so I don't see why they wouldn't do the same to Dunkleosteus. And then for, yeah, again, that's why I'm kind of hoping for that. And then for Wild Roar, again, the other Wild Roar we had this wave that was like a semi-aquatic, or I mean, well, I technically the aquatic was Brontochinus, and that thing was pretty solid. And then we also just got Pterosaurus for the Jurassic World Survival line, which was absolutely, I mean, not Jurassic World Survival, Jurassic World Rebirth line, which is absolutely amazing. And Mattel usually does well on Crocs, so I don't see why they won't do good on this one outside of other figures releasing in the series. But otherwise, I think that Stomatosuchus might be Sage. I think those are like the two best figures. The rest of Wave 2 doesn't seem that great. The Spectrovinator honestly looks horrible, and then everything else is just kind of just re-releases. So, yeah. Frank, I mean, actually, no, the Furor Draco, that one's actually also not horrible, but yeah. I just kind of want to talk about the survival line as of now. I honestly kind of lost hope for it at this point. Again, I don't think that it will be a complete lost cause, but I also think it's easily Mattel's worst lineup, and honestly, really hope Mattel doesn't do this again. I really thought that the survival line was. I actually had a lot of hope for the survival line coming off of Rebirth. Rebirth was one of the best lines, and then they could do a survival line, again, with a bunch of really good figures, similar in quality to some of their better Jurassic World Rebirth figures. In fact, the survival line literally has a perfect, basically a perfect cast of creatures, I'd say. Like, one of my biggest issues with the Rebirth line, I'd say, was like the lack of aquatics in pterosaurs, considering how it was literally a line based around land, air, and sea. So wouldn't it make sense for them to do a land, air, and sea themed thing? I honestly was really hoping they would continue with the land, air, and sea theme, and they're kind of doing that, but instead they decided to do the stupid mutant train, and honestly not well. I'm going to talk about why I truly just think that this is kind of not even a well done mutant or hybrid line. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but going back to what I was talking about, kind of, I kind of just don't understand why. Like, if they were going to do a hybrid line, wouldn't they have done it for, like, Fallen Kingdom or something? I mean, I guess it makes sense, actually, now that I think of it. Jurassic World, they didn't have the license, and Fallen Kingdom, like, that is their first wave, so they couldn't just mess up that early. So I guess it makes sense why they didn't do a hybrid line right away then, but, yeah, still feel like I don't know. This just is the worst outcome we could have gotten from a hybrid line. Not only basically taking over the entire main line with it, but also not even doing it properly. I know the people compare this to the Hasbro and Kenner hybrid line, but I'm going to talk about why I think those work and this just does not in the slightest. Both of those series not only were the end of their license, so unless Mattel plans on going out with a big bang with a hybrid line, I honestly don't think it makes much sense for them to completely take over the line of it. If they're going to really do a hybrid line, they should make it a sideline, just a smaller sideline, kind of like the Ultimate Damage or even the Reimagined figures. Like, honestly, if they really wanted to do the mutant hybrid thing, I feel like it would have been better to kind of just section off the Reimagined line for that, since personally I feel like they're not really doing much with it. Just kind of maybe do that in the Ultimate Damage figures. Just combine those into like a hybrid line, sideline. I feel like that would have made way more sense than taking over the entire freaking main line and basically getting rid of any regular creatures. Also, just again, I feel like with those other two times where the hybrids were done, they were committed to and done way better. Not only were they actual hybrids and not just ugly mutants, but also, again, design-wise, they were actually good. There's a lot of things design-wise you have to do right for a hybrid, and even more I feel like you have to do for a mutant. And at the very least, those other series, they did them pretty well. Like, again, I don't think the Hasbro Jurassic World line did it as well. They kind of just did Jurassic World the game hybrids, and then the figures were not the super best, but still, I think they were done way better, and the Chaos Effect line was done amazingly. Heck, the Chaos Effect line has more regular dinosaurs in it that with just crazy color schemes than this reimagined line. Heck, if they wanted to do a mutant line, I think I would have been way more okay with them just honestly doing the color schemes instead of actually doing modifications to the actual figures themselves. But again, those lineups not only made it very clear that they were mutants since that's the entire line, this whole lineup, the only reason we know it's mutant themed is because of the description. And even then, it's not specifically said in mutants, they're considered evolved, which is just stupid to me. But again, these are not set aside to be like actual mutant figures, and these are all just, again, regular dinosaur figures that are just poorly made and don't look anything like the actual animal. Again, another thing that I don't have an issue with in a hybrid line compared to a line with actual dinosaurs in it is that hybrids, you can really make them do whatever you want. You can make them look any way you want. All you gotta do is pick two random species and slap them together, or more if you'd like to. And like, again, as long as you're just making, I guess, a visually pleasing design, it works. But for making mutant creatures, these are just dumb. They're Like, if you really wanted to do mutants, heck, in Rebirth, mutants were not mutants. Those were literally just hybrids. Literally, the stupid dragon, fine, I'll use its official name, the Mutodon, literally is just a hybrid between the Pteranodon and the Velociraptor. There's nothing particularly wrong with the animal, so it's not really a mutant. It's literally just a hybrid. It was done intentionally. Unless they accidentally somehow fused those two animals and it still came out successfully, I have no idea. Mr. Mutant seems pretty functional. Don't know what the heck they put into that thing, but I'm assuming some sort of, like, sauropod, or I don't know, maybe in an attempt to make hadrosaurs not boring for the media, they're like, hey, let's just slap some T-Rex DNA into it and like whale DNA, because why the heck not? Those, again, those are very clearly hybrids, and even then they're not done well. This franchise, I know a lot of people don't like the hybrids and some people really like the hybrids. I felt like they always had at least really decent designs. They felt complete, they felt rounded, and they felt like they fit the franchise. The mutants aren't. They're literally just ripoffs of other monsters. Literally, the Mutodon's a freaking dragon, and Mr. Mutant is, I don't know, something from the Monsterverse, frankly. I don't really even know. Well, this lineup is none of that. They're not really, like, they're not particularly ripoffs of things like the movie mutants, but they're also not really just, like, unique designs. They're not actual hybrids or anything. Again, they are literally just butchered animal designs, and frankly, they barely look like that. I've seen literal figures of dinosaur carcasses that look better than these figures. Like, for example, the newer Spectrovinator. The fact that there was even a debate whether that thing was a Scelidosaurus or a Spectrovinator, two very different animals from very different parts of the dinosaur family tree, trying to debate which one of these species it's supposed to represent, and frankly, we didn't know for sure until the name of the figure was dropped, is absolutely absurd. It's not a mutant. They completely just made some crap up and slapped a name onto it. It's like, I feel like maybe, just maybe, it could almost be a Spectrovinator at the very least if they would have gotten its head right. But no, they didn't even bother getting that right. I feel like maybe it could have been at least passable, and still, even then, wouldn't have been the best. Another thing, like, this lineup kind of just does is it doesn't even bother to try to get the creature right. For example, Vespasaurus. I feel like if you don't know what Vespasaurus is, you literally will have no idea what's unique about this animal unless you actually look it up. Frankly, I didn't know. I just thought this was like a pretty basic looking dinosaur, which it is still a basic looking dinosaur, but there's one thing really interesting about it. It literally runs on one singular digit. The other two digits, it keeps raised off the ground when running, or I believe probably also walking as well. So honestly, the figure probably should have only had the middle toe on the ground while the other two were in the air, but no, it does not. Again, and Vespasaurus is probably one of the best ones in the toy line, and yet they couldn't even get the most interesting thing about this figure done properly. And honestly, that's just absurd. Now, back to that Chaos Theory thing I was talking about. I got so off topic, and I honestly kind of forgot where I was going with that, but yeah. Anyways, back to the thing. Again, these are not actual, like, mutants or hybrids. These are just crap dinosaur designs, just under the names of mutants vaguely, and then slapped under the names of actual dinosaurs, and again, with no indication really that they're mutants, at least clearly on the packaging. But, another thing that really doesn't work for me is the colorations. The biggest draw towards the Chaos Effect is, like, again, a good chunk of the Chaos Effect was just regular dinosaurs, which this lineup couldn't even do that. But, like, of all the hybrid creatures were the ones that looked really random, and the regular creatures were just the regular creatures repainted. And a lot of people are talking like, oh, how this lineup is so similar to the Chaos Effect. Now, I honestly don't see what the heck they're talking about. They're talking about the colorations, but frankly, this is like about average, if not even worse than regular Mattel levels of paint quality. This is basically just like one or two colors on it, and then like a minimum paint slapped on these figures, and yet they're somehow supposed to be considered, compared to the Chaos Effect. Even the Hasbro Jurassic World line actually had some pretty nice exotic colors and patterns on them. But the Chaos Effect itself, one of the biggest parts about it was that it had such chaotic and crazy color schemes. Just taking something as simple as a raptor to make it literally insane with it being bright blue, black, green, yellow. And honestly, I feel like they couldn't even do that. Realistically, I feel like what would have worked better if they really wanted to make a mutant line, they couldn't even do like 50-50 regular dinosaurs for 50 and like 50% mutants. They didn't even do that. Instead, they kind of just did 100% mutants, or maybe best case scenario 90% mutants, 10% all right and not mutants, I guess. Sorry I'm going on such a side tangent. I don't have any slides for this. I'm kind of just talking about it, and there's like, these are my issues with this lineup. Is that even before, when Mattel did bad figures, it was kind of just like a fraction of the line. I was really just looking through like the Rebirth line, for example, and literally most of the figures I would describe them as like majority of them I would consider either passable all the way up to absolutely amazing figures, best of the best. Everything was on a scale around. This survival line, I would consider them on a scale of passable to absolute garbage, some of the worst things Mattel have produced. Again, they're just not trying. Frankly, I kind of am disappointed that we're even getting half of these species now, considering how we're likely never to get another one. We're likely not going to get another Gorgosaurus. We're likely not going to get another Torvosaurus, and they've already butchered the one attempt that we're going to get at it. And honestly, it's just kind of disappointing. Again, don't get me wrong, there are some things that I think are good. Brachiochenius, I think, came out pretty solid, and even then, I feel like, again, they add flair to these figures, but in the worst way possible. Like, why do the Wild Wars glow? Like, I don't think that's bad per se, but like it's kind of random. And then on top of that, they don't put too much paint on the Brachiochenius. I feel like at the very least, honestly, make it a little bit more textured, add way more paint on it, and the Brachiochenius would have been an amazing figure. Honestly, just give it some Chaos Effect coloration. Like, slap the Alpha Raptors colors onto the Brachiochenius, and that would have been a really good figure. But even then, I still think it's still a solid figure. I still think it's one of the best of the survival line, and easily one of my favorites that we have images of. Stomatosuchus, I'm honestly praying again, looks like the actual animal is done really well. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Don't even know where the heck I was going with that either. Honestly, I'm probably going to end the video now because I'm just going to keep on rambling if I don't. Again, this survival line just, again, feels like a waste. We're not going to give any of these a second chance at any of these species, really. And we get, like, honestly, less than, like, 5 good figures per wave. I'd say maybe you get 5 or slightly over 5 per wave of figures if you consider ones that are just kind of passable. And honestly, that's a shame. Again, I think I was going with that before earlier, where I was kind of comparing it to the Rebirth line, where I say a majority of them are really good. Like, I would say a majority of these are actually pretty bad, and then there's like there's a decent chunk that are passable, but just barely. And then I'd say there's very few that are just kind of average or good. And then there's like, I don't know, like probably less than 5 that I'd say are amazing. And even then, that's including ones that are like kind of speculative and we don't know what they look like yet. Again, just generally, this feels like a waste of a lineup. Instead of, again, a lot of people, like, this is kind of just a random comparison. You know the Pteranodon figure that we got in the Ham collection. A lot of people hate that thing because they didn't commit. They didn't commit to the Jurassic Park the game design, and they didn't commit to the Jurassic World Live Tour / Evolution design. That's what this lineup feels like, except even worse. They didn't commit to doing a hybrid line or a mutant line, and they did not commit to doing a dinosaur line. To be completely honest, this was a mutant line, and it was just like absurd crap. I would not even bother with this lineup and just completely skip this year of figures. But honestly, I feel like it would have been better at the very least they would have committed to one. Like, they honestly, I think the best case scenario, like, I don't know why I feel like Mattel is acting as if they can't bake their cakes and eat them too, when literally that is what they can do. Make the hybrid line a sideline and then just continue doing regular dinosaurs in the main line. Is it really that hard? Especially since you have a lot of species that are pretty easy slam dunks. You just have to basically make the dinosaur. Like, do you really think people have been dying so long to get some of these figures of certain species and then not want a figure that looks like that species they've been dying for literal years? Like, that just makes no sense. Why not make the thing that people have been asking for years instead of something that no one asked for? And it just looks absolutely absurd. That's what I feel like this line is like. Again, if they would have just did the hybrids as a sideline, could have been a weird thing. If people liked it, people didn't like it. Again, I feel like could have worked. I feel like just going hybrids just works better, considering how mutants just don't exist in this franchise. They're just rebranded hybrids. And at the very least, you could have gotten some interesting things out of doing some hybrids. Heck, even maybe have hybrids be combinations of creatures in the main line. So you could have, for example, the Gorgosaurus in the Stegosaurus, and then have a smaller version of the mutant line. Again, maybe it'd just be worth, like, basically one wave worth of figures or something. Like, I don't know. Maybe have one gigantic Thrasher, 2 Strike Attack figures, 2 or 4 Danger Pack figures, and maybe like 1 big figure, and have that be the entire mutant line. Feel like that would have worked, and have each creature be a combination of things. That one gigantic Thrasher figure you get could be a combination of like Gorgosaurus and Stegosaurus, and it could have been like like an armored Gorgosaurus, like they actually freaking did for some reason. The large figure, who knows what they could have done with that. There's like a lot of options they could have done. I feel like there's so many better ways to do it, and you can actually have both lines at the same time, but Mattel actively chose to do this instead, and frankly, it sucks. Hey, what are your thoughts on this? I already know a lot of people already like this line, so are really not going to really not going to agree with my opinion on this. But hey, what are your thoughts on it? I personally really am hating this line and really disappointed on it, and I'm kind of hoping they just do some regular dinosaurs next year. Honestly, I feel like the only way they're making up for this is having some of these new ones. There's quite a few figures left that still have potential, like mainly Strike Attacks, like the Dunkleosteus, and also re-releases. Just have those be re-releases, and a few other, like Stomatosuchus, please save this thing, and like Spinosaurus and Therizinosaurus. I feel like there's still quite a few figures that can still be saved. If they save all of these, Still think it'd be the worst line, but if maybe they compensate with another line next year, do a lot of more fans' favorite species, make sure they're actually like look like the actual animal. I'm not even asking for full 100% accuracy. I'm literally just asking for something that's decent and resembles the actual animal. And like it's a really good line, like I say, on par with at least Chaos Theory line or even the Rebirth line. I feel like maybe that could make up for this, but even then, that feels like a stretch just how bad this lineup is. So yeah, I'm just kind of disappointed in this. Hey, of course, maybe these aren't as bad when they're getting revealed, but considering how all the ones we have revealed are like kind of absurd looking, and also how again we already have one thing confirmed for some of these spikes on the Liopleurodon. Who knows what they're going to do with that? And then literally a rattlesnake tail on Torvosaurus just shows that they really will do whatever the heck they want. So. Yeah, again, sorry this is more of like a video just trashing on these things. I know some people don't like videos like this, so yeah. Also, want to talk about the Wild Raw Pteranodon? I know I was like really talking about how it could have been good when we had that one blurry image. Now I'm seeing it, I don't really like it at all. I kind of confused by it. I know I just went on a whole entire tangent, but I'm just going to go on a super short one real fast. First thing, why did they give this thing teeth? I know it's like, this is a completely non-canon design, so they didn't have to do teeth on it. And also, like, I'm honestly asking this less of a I don't like teeth on Pteranodon, and it makes no sense to put it on when you're doing a slightly kind of different design. Like, I am kind of like that person right now, but, like, I'm not even saying specifically for that. What was the point of adding in teeth when it's inaccurate and you're not going to even bother painting them? Like, Mattel, you can literally be lazy. You probably could have actually saved time and money not even bothering sculpting any teeth, and you could have gone away with it. Could have made sense for Pteranodon, yet they chose to give it teeth for some reason and then not even paint it. Also think the wings really suck. We've avoided bat wings in this franchise for a pretty long time. I think maybe the only exception maybe being the Lost World Pteranodon that appears for all 3 seconds. So yeah, we were good on that, but now this new Pteranodon has bat wings. Also, the color scheme looks inconsistent. We have like 4 main colors, and honestly, realistically 2, and then another thing which is just like off-shade versions of the same exact colors. It doesn't look intentional. It looks accidental, like they mixed the wrong colors. And then the glowing, like, I guess it's not bad particularly. Again, I don't think the glowing's bad. I just think it's random and kind of pointless. Like, if the figure was actually good and it had the glowing, I wouldn't have an issue with it. It's just like, oh, okay. I guess it's kind of here. Again, I just think the whole thing, proportion-wise, just looks bad. I don't know. If they wanted to exaggerate stuff, why not just do a Tropiognathus? Why not do Spicomelus, a very exaggerated dinosaur? Why not Dacentrurus? Very long. A lot of depictions were depicted more like Miragaia, so it's a very long dinosaur, a lot of very tall and long plates, and it's just a very spiky animal. Like, again, Mattel, just stop making up random crap and just literally go for exaggerating looking dinosaurs. There are a lot of dinosaurs that look exaggerated. Heck, we haven't gotten a new Hadrosaur outside of Maiasaura in ages. Honestly, a lot of Hadrosaurs are depicted with the kind of like back spike things. I can't remember what they're called. Honestly, just do like a Saurolophus or something with slightly more exaggerated versions of those. Shantungosaurus would be great anytime. Honestly, I could be here all day, even if you want to go with slightly less accurate depictions of animals. Like, if you want to do, like, don't go absurd with it, but, like, Augustinia, I feel like people would probably be okay with. I know I might be okay if, like, Augustina's done well. And just so many creatures that they could do and do them well. They would be exaggerated without even being particularly, like, inaccurate or anything and still resemble the species. It's like, I feel like we basically waited all this time to get these species. We've been begging for them, and the Mattel doesn't give it to us. They just give us a piece of plastic that's really ugly, and then kind of with the name slapped onto it. I'm going to stop talking now because, frankly, I'm getting tired, and honestly, I've ranted about this for too long. It's been, like, what, 16 minutes, so it's like a Jurassic World survival rant. So, yeah. Anyways, if you clicked off the video a long time ago, well, you're not even seeing this part. And if you watched to the end, again, what's your thoughts on this? And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.